The council chamber was massive. It stretched high into the ceiling, where lights from 1,000 worlds sparkled like stars. Jiwoo stood in the center of the circular room, feeling very small. Around him, representatives from 50 different alien species sat in their designated seats. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few glowed with strange colors. They were all staring at him. Jiwoo took a deep breath and activated his holographic display. A blue planet appeared in the air above him. It was beautiful, covered with white clouds and blue oceans. "This is Earth," Jiwoo said. His voice echoed in the quiet chamber. "The home world of a species called humans. According to ancient records, they once traveled among the stars. They traded with our ancestors. They built great ships and explored distant galaxies." Someone laughed. It was a harsh barking sound. Jiwoo looked up and saw it was Council Member Rakhtar, a large creature with red skin and 4 arms. "Humans?" Rakhtar said, still laughing. "Those are just stories we tell children. Fairy tales. There are no humans. There never were." Other council members nodded and whispered to each other. Jiwoo felt his face grow hot. He had expected this reaction, but it still hurt. "I have evidence," Jiwoo insisted. He changed the hologram to show old star charts. "These maps are over 800 years old. They show human trade routes. They show Earth's location. Old maps can be faked," another council member said. "You are wasting our time, Ambassador Jiwoo." Jiwoo wanted to argue more, but then he felt a hand on his shoulder. It was Hyun, the elder diplomat who had trained him. Hyun's face was kind but worried. "That is enough for today," Hyun said softly. "Come, let us leave." Outside the chamber, Hyun turned to Jiwoo with a serious expression. "You must stop this," Hyun warned. "Chasing ghost stories will destroy your career. I say this because I care about you. Please, let this go." Jiwoo nodded slowly, but inside he felt determined. He knew he was right. Humans were real. He could feel it. Far across the galaxy, in a region marked as dead space on all maps, Captain Dae-hyun guided his small exploration ship through a field of debris. His crew of 5 had been mapping this sector for 3 months. It was boring work. "Nothing ever happened out here, Captain," called out his scanner operator. "I am picking up something strange. It is big. Really big." Dae-hyun leaned forward in his chair. On the screen he could see a massive shape drifting in the darkness. It was a ship, but unlike any design he had seen before. It was cylindrical, at least 5 kilometers long, and covered with strange markings. "Take us closer," Dae-hyun ordered. Carefully. As they approached, Dae-hyun realized this was no ordinary derelict. The ship was ancient, but its hull was intact. There were markings on the side in a language he did not recognize. His heart began to beat faster. "Captain, I am detecting a power source," the scanner operator said, sounding nervous. "It is weak, but it is there. Something inside is still working." Dae-hyun made a decision. Against all safety protocols, he suited up and took a small shuttle over to the derelict. 2 crew members went with him. They found an airlock and managed to open it using their tools. Inside, the ship was dark and cold. Their lights cut through the shadows as they moved down empty corridors. Everything was covered in dust. Dae-hyun noticed that the corridors were the right height for someone his size. Most alien ships were either too big or too small. This felt designed for someone like him. They found what looked like a control room. Ancient computer screens lined the walls. In the center was a chair, and in that chair sat a skeleton. It was humanoid with 2 arms and 2 legs. Dae-hyun felt a chill run down his spine. "Try the computers," Dae-hyun said. His engineer worked for several minutes. Then suddenly one screen flickered to life. Text appeared, but it was in that same strange language. However, there were also images. Pictures of a blue planet. Videos of creatures that walked on 2 legs with smooth skin and hair on their heads. "What are those?" the engineer whispered. Then a voice spoke. It was artificial, coming from the ship's ancient speakers. The words were translated automatically by Dae-hyun's universal communicator. "This is the colony ship New Beginning," the voice said. It sounded tired and sad. "We are the last survivors from Earth. Our homeworld is gone, destroyed. We searched for a new home, but we failed. Our engines died. Our people sleep in cryopods, but the pods are failing. If you find this message, please know that we tried. We tried so hard," the message repeated. Dae-hyun stood frozen, his mind racing. Earth. That name. He had heard it before in old legends. The myths about humans. "Captain," his engineer said quietly, Look at the date stamp on this message. It is 800 years old. Dae-hyun copied all the data he could find. Then he took samples and photographs. As they left the dead ship, he looked back at it floating in the darkness. Something about this discovery felt important. Dangerous, even. Back at the galactic capital, Ji-woo sat in his small apartment, reviewing data on his personal computer. He had collected information about humans for years. Every scrap of evidence, every mention in old texts, every fragment of a legend. Most people thought he was crazy. His computer made a sound. An incoming message. Ji-woo opened it and frowned. It was from an anonymous sender. There was no message, only a set of coordinates and a single word. Proof. Ji-woo stared at the coordinates. They pointed to a region of dead space far from any settled worlds. It could be a trap. It could be a joke. But something in his gut told him this was real. He spent the next 2 weeks preparing. He could not get official approval, so he used his own money to hire a small ship. He also recruited a team. There was Min Ji, a xenoarchaeologist who specialized in dead civilizations. She was young but brilliant. There was also a pilot named Tai Min and a security officer named Bo Young. When Hyun found out, he was furious. "This is madness," Hyun said. "You are throwing away everything. Your position, your reputation, perhaps even your life. For what, for a myth?" "For the truth," Ji-woo replied. The journey took 5 days. As they approached the coordinates, their scanners began picking up strange readings. Minji looked at the data with wide eyes. "There is something out there," she said. "Multiple large objects. Very large." Ji-woo felt his mouth go dry. When they finally saw it with their own eyes, everyone on the ship fell silent. They had found a fleet. Thousands of ships, all dark and silent, arranged in perfect formation around a massive central vessel. The central ship was enormous, easily the size of a small moon. It was a generation ship, designed to carry millions of people across the stars. The warships surrounding it were like nothing in the galactic database. They were sleek and deadly looking, bristling with weapon ports. Every single one was larger than the biggest military ships in the Galactic Council fleet. "How is this possible?" Taemin whispered. "How did no one know this was here?" Minji was scanning everything frantically. Her hands shook as she worked. "These ships," she said slowly. "The designs predate everything in our records. They are old, ancient, but they are intact. Not damaged, not destroyed. Just sleeping." Ji-woo stared at the fleet before them. He had searched for proof that humans existed. He had found something far more terrifying than he ever imagined. Humans were real, and they had an armada. Then, without warning, lights began to appear on the nearest warship. One by one, like stars being born, the ships began to wake up. Power signatures flared. Engines that had been cold for centuries started to hum with life. "Get us out of here," Bo Young said urgently. Now, but Ji-woo could not move. He watched as the human fleet awakened, ship after ship, until the darkness was filled with light. The legends were true. Humans were not extinct. They had been sleeping, waiting, and now they were awake. The awakening of the fleet was beautiful and terrifying. Ji-woo watched through the observation window as more ships came to life. Blue lights ran along their hulls like veins. The warships moved slowly, adjusting their positions with perfect precision. It was like watching a sleeping giant wake up. "We need to leave," Bo Young repeated. She had her hand on her weapon, though what good it would do against warships no one knew. "Wait," Minji said. She was still working at her console. "Look at this. They are not attacking us. They are just waking up. They have not even pointed weapons at us." Then a voice came over their communication system. It was clear and strong, speaking in perfect galactic standard language. "Unknown vessel. This is Admiral Sung-ho of the human generation ship Horizon's Promise. Please identify yourself and state your intentions." Ji-woo felt his heart pound. His hands shook as he activated the communication channel. "This is Ambassador Ji-woo of the Galactic Council. We come in peace. We detected your fleet and came to investigate. We did not know anyone was here." There was a long pause. Ji-woo could imagine the humans discussing what to do. Finally, the Admiral spoke again. "Galactic Council? We have no record of such an organization. Please dock with our ship. We need to talk." It was not a request. It was an order. Taemin looked at Ji-woo with worried eyes. "Do we have a choice?" Taemin asked. Ji-woo shook his head. "Not really. Take us in." The Horizon's Promise was massive up close. Their small ship felt like an insect next to it. They docked at a hangar that could have held 100 ships their size. When they stepped out, they were met by a group of humans in uniform. Jiwoo had studied the old images, but seeing real humans was different. They looked so much like him. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. They had different skin colors from pale to dark brown. Their hair came in many colors too. Some were tall, others short. But they all moved with purpose and discipline. One human stepped forward. She was a woman with dark hair tied back in a tight bun. Her uniform had symbols that indicated high rank. I am Commander Haewon, Chief Engineer of this vessel. The Admiral will see you shortly. Follow me. They walked through corridors that were clean and well-maintained. The ship did not feel old at all. Crew members moved past them, some stopping to stare at the aliens. Jiwoo noticed their expressions. Curiosity, yes, but also suspicion and fear. We have been asleep for 800 years, Haewon said as they walked. We left Earth when it was dying. We thought we were the last humans alive. We hoped to find a new home. But our engines failed and we drifted into deep space. Our only choice was to go into cryosleep and hope someone would find us. What woke you up? Minji asked. Haewon glanced back at her. Your ship. When you approached, our automated defense systems detected you. They woke the Admiral and key personnel. Now we are waking everyone. They entered a large room that served as the Admiral's office. Behind a desk sat a man who looked to be in his 50s. His hair was gray and his face was lined with age and worry. But his eyes were sharp and alert. This was Admiral Sung-ho. Sit, the Admiral said. It was not unfriendly, but it was firm. Jiwoo and his team sat in the chairs provided. You say you are from something called the Galactic Council, Admiral Sung-ho began. Tell me about it. Tell me about the galaxy we woke up in, Jiwoo explained. He told them about the Council, about the 50-member species, about the laws and peace that had existed for 600 years. He told them about trade, about science, about cooperation. The Admiral listened carefully. When Jiwoo finished, Sung-ho leaned back in his chair. 600 years of peace. That is impressive. But tell me, Ambassador, why did no one know we were here? This fleet is not small. Our power signatures, even in sleep mode, should have been detectable. Jiwoo hesitated. To be honest, Admiral, most people do not believe humans ever existed. You are considered a myth, a legend. Old stories that parents tell children. The room became very quiet. Admiral Sung-ho's expression hardened. A myth, he said slowly. We are a myth, I believed, Jiwoo said quickly. That is why I am here. I have been searching for evidence of humanity for years. Most people thought I was crazy. The Admiral studied Jiwoo for a long moment. Then he nodded slightly. At least someone remembered us. But now we have a problem. We are awake in a galaxy that does not know us. We have 3 million people in cryosleep who need homes. We have technology that is different from yours. And we have a fleet of warships. You must understand, Jiwoo said carefully. The Council will be shocked. Some will be afraid. Your ships are very advanced. Should we be afraid of the Council? Commander Haewon asked. Her voice had an edge to it. Before Jiwoo could answer, another human entered the room. He was younger than the Admiral, perhaps in his 30s. His uniform was military and he moved like a soldier. Admiral, this is Colonel Junseo. He will be in charge of fleet security during this situation. Junseo looked at Jiwoo and his team with cold eyes. With respect, Admiral, I recommend we do not trust these aliens. We do not know them. They could be a threat. We came in peace, Jiwoo protested. So you say, Junseo replied. But Earth also trusted others once. Look what happened to our home world. It was destroyed. We fled like refugees. Forgive me if I am not quick to trust strangers. The Admiral raised his hand. I understand your concerns, Colonel. But we cannot survive alone. We need allies. We need resources. We need a place to call home. The Admiral turned back to Jiwoo. Ambassador, I want to meet with this Galactic Council. I want to negotiate for sanctuary for my people. But I will not disarm. I will not make my people vulnerable. We learned that lesson the hard way. Jiwoo nodded. I understand. I will arrange a meeting. But you must understand the Council will be nervous. Some may react with fear. Then we will deal with that when it comes, the Admiral said firmly. Jiwoo left the meeting with his team. As they walked back to their ship, Minji spoke quietly. They are scared. Did you see it? They act strong, but they are afraid. Jiwoo nodded. They lost their home. They have been asleep for centuries. Now they wake up to find they are forgotten. Of course they are afraid. Back on the council capital world, Jiwoo's message caused chaos. The council chamber was filled with shouting voices. Representatives from all 50 species argued and debated. Ambassador Tai Yang, an experienced diplomat, tried to maintain order. Please, everyone. We must approach this calmly. These humans are not invaders. They are refugees seeking help. Refugees with a war fleet. Council member Rakhtar shouted. Thousands of warships, ships that are more advanced than anything we have. How is that not a threat? They have not attacked anyone, Taeyang pointed out. Not yet, Rakhtar said darkly. After hours of debate, the council made a decision. They would send Ambassador Taeyang to negotiate with the humans. He would be accompanied by a military escort, led by Commander Kyung-mi, one of the most respected officers in the council fleet. When Taeyang arrived at the human fleet, he was escorted to Admiral Sung-ho's office just as Jiwoo had been. But this time there were more people in the room. The Admiral had brought his senior staff. Colonel Junseo stood in the corner, his hand never far from his weapon. Ambassador Taeyang tried to smile and appear friendly. Admiral, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome humanity back to the stars. We are prepared to offer aid and assistance. That is generous, Admiral Sung-ho replied. What do you want in return? Taeyang paused. He had not expected such a direct question. The Council would like to ensure peace and stability. We have rules that all member species follow. Laws about weapons, about territorial disputes, about trade. We would expect humans to follow these same laws. Admiral Sung-ho nodded slowly. Reasonable. But I must be clear about something. We will not disarm. Our warships stay active and ready. We have been burned before. We will not leave ourselves defenseless. Taeyang's smile faded slightly. Admiral, surely you understand our concern. Your fleet is powerful. Some council members are afraid. Then they should not give us a reason to use that power, Colonel Junseo said from the corner. The tension in the room grew thick. Taeyang realized that this negotiation was not going to be easy. The humans were not going to simply accept whatever the council offered. They were going to demand respect. They were going to demand to be treated as equals. Outside the Horizon's Promise, Commander Kyung-mi watched the human fleet through her ship's sensors. She had been a military officer for 20 years. She had seen many different species and many different ships, but these human vessels made her nervous. They were too quiet, too efficient. They moved with perfect coordination, like they were all part of one mind. And their weapon systems were unlike anything in the Council database. Kyung-mi had fought in 2 small wars during her career. She knew military power when she saw it, and the humans had it in abundance. She just hoped that power would never be turned against the Council, because if it was, Kyung-mi was not sure the Council could win. The negotiations lasted 3 days. They were difficult. Neither side wanted to give ground. Admiral Sung-ho insisted that humans keep their fleet. Ambassador Taeyang said the Council needed assurances. The talks went in circles. On the 4th day, something changed. The Council mobilized its defense fleet. 300 warships jumped into the system where the human fleet waited. They surrounded the humans in a wide formation. Commander Kyung-mi commanded the Council fleet from her flagship. She did not want this confrontation, but the Council had ordered her to show strength, to make the humans understand that they could not simply do whatever they wanted. On the Horizon's Promise, alarms began to sound. Admiral Sung-ho rushed to the command center. Report, he ordered. Council warships have arrived, Commander Haewon said, her fingers moving quickly across her console. 300 ships. They have us surrounded. Colonel Junseo stepped forward, his jaw tight with anger. I warned you, Admiral. They see us as a threat. We should strike first before they attack us. No, Admiral Sung-ho said firmly. We will not fire first, but prepare all ships for combat. If they attack, we defend ourselves. The human fleet powered up their weapons. Shields came online, every ship ready for battle. But they did not move. They did not attack. They waited. Jiwoo was still on the Horizon's Promise when the Council fleet arrived. He immediately contacted Ambassador Taeyang. What are you doing? Jiwoo demanded. This will start a war. The Council is merely showing that we will not be intimidated. Taeyang replied. The humans need to understand that we are not weak. This is a mistake. Let me continue negotiating. I have been building trust with them. Jiwoo worked frantically to prevent disaster. He arranged a meeting between Admiral Sung-ho and Commander Kyung-mi. It took place on a neutral station between the two fleets. The two military leaders sat across from each other. Kyungmi spoke first, Admiral. The Council does not want war. But we cannot allow an armed fleet to operate freely without oversight. And we cannot disarm, Sung-ho replied. Commander, you are a military officer. You understand. We lost our home. We have been refugees for 8 centuries. Our ships are all we have left. They are our protection. Kyungmi studied the Admiral carefully. She saw the determination in his eyes, but also the weariness. This man had carried a heavy burden for a long time. I understand your position, she said quietly, but you must also understand ours. My government is afraid. They see your technology and worry. While the military leaders talked, Ji-woo met with a human liaison officer named Yoon-ah. She was younger than most of the command staff, perhaps in her late 20s. She had been one of the first to wake from cryosleep. Most humans want peace, Yoon-ah told Ji-woo as they walked through the station. We are tired of running. We want homes. We want to plant gardens and raise children. We want normal lives. Then help me convince your leaders to compromise, Ji-woo urged. Yoon-ah shook her head sadly. You do not understand. Earth was destroyed by beings we thought were friends. We offered them our technology, our friendship, our trust. They took everything and left our world burning. That memory is burned into every human's mind. We cannot forget. We cannot easily trust again. Back at the galactic capital, Minji continued her research. She had been given access to the oldest records in the Council archives. What she found shocked her. She called Ji-woo immediately on a secure channel. Ji-woo, I found something. Old records from before the Council was formed. Humans did exist. They traded with early civilizations. They shared technology. They were peaceful. That is good news, Ji-woo said. It proves they are not aggressive by nature. Wait, there is more. The records describe Earth's destruction. It was not a natural disaster. It was an attack. Something destroyed their world. The records call it the burning. After that, humans disappeared. We thought they were extinct. Ji-woo felt a chill. Do the records say what attacked them? No, the information is incomplete. But Ji-woo, there is something else. Something that worries me. What? Whatever destroyed Earth, it was looking for something. The records suggest it was hunting humans specifically, and the records end with a warning. If humans ever return, the hunters might return too. Meanwhile, a crisis was brewing. Dr. Jae-min, a human scientist who specialized in xenobiology, had been analyzing Council communication networks. The humans had been monitoring galactic transmissions for decades while they slept. Their systems automatically recorded and translated everything. What he discovered troubled him deeply. He brought his findings to Admiral Sung-ho. Admiral, we have been listening to Council communications for 70 years. During that time, there have been 3 wars, 2 major corruption scandals, and dozens of territorial disputes. The Council is not as peaceful as they claim. Admiral Sung-ho frowned. That is concerning, but not surprising. Most governments have problems, there is more. Council member Bora has been lobbying other members. She wants to seize our technology. She believes human science should belong to all species. She is gathering support to force us to share everything. The Admiral's expression darkened. So much for welcoming us. This information leaked to the more militant human officers. Colonel Jun Seo used it to argue for aggressive action. We should strike their leadership, Jun Seo said at a command meeting. Take out the ones who want to steal from us. Show them we will not be victims again. That would make us the aggressors, Commander Haewon argued. We would lose any moral high ground. Moral high ground does not matter when you are dead, Jun Seo shot back. The situation grew worse when Captain Dae-hyun made another discovery. He had been exploring nearby systems and found evidence of something disturbing. Strange energy signatures, patterns that did not match any known technology. He brought his findings to both Ji-woo and Admiral Sung-ho together. I think something is out there, Dae-hyun said. Something old and dangerous. The energy patterns match descriptions from Earth's final days. The Admiral went pale. Are you saying what I think you are saying? I think the things that destroyed Earth might still be out there. And I think they might have detected the human fleet waking up. Before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring. On every ship, human and Council alike, sensors detected massive quantum distortions forming at the edge of the system. Then tragedy struck. A Council warship captained by Commander Insu, who was known for his aggressive stance, detected a human scout ship near his position. Insu had been vocal about his distrust of humans. Against direct orders from Commander Kyung-mi, he powered up weapons and fired. The human scout ship was destroyed instantly. 4 humans died. The crew had been doing routine patrol, unarmed and unsuspecting. The news reached Admiral Sung-ho within minutes. His face became hard as stone. "One of those crew members was my daughter," he said quietly. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. Colonel Jun Seo stood up. "Admiral, give the order. Let us show them what happens when they murder our people." The entire human fleet went to battle stations. Weapons charged. Targeting systems locked onto Council ships. The Council fleet responded in kind. Within seconds, 2 massive fleets were ready to destroy each other. Commander Kyung-mi tried desperately to prevent disaster. She ordered Commander Insu arrested immediately. She sent emergency messages to Admiral Sung-ho, apologizing and offering justice. But it might be too late. Admiral Sung-ho stood on his bridge staring at the tactical display. His officers waited for his command. One word from him and the galaxy would see war unlike anything it had known. Ji-woo burst onto the bridge. "Admiral, please, do not do this." Insu acted alone. "He is being arrested." "The Council does not want war. They killed my daughter," the Admiral said. His voice was ice. 4 good people died because one of your commanders could not control his fear." "I know," Ji-woo said. His own voice broke with emotion. "And I am sorry, but if you attack now, thousands more will die, on both sides. Is that what your daughter would want?" The Admiral closed his eyes. When he opened them, they were wet with tears. But his voice was steady. "I want justice. Full accountability. Commander Insu tried by your highest court. You will have it," Ji-woo promised. The Admiral turned to his crew. "Stand down. All ships to defensive posture only." The tension eased slightly. War had been avoided, but barely, and then the sensors showed something that made everyone forget their conflict. Ships were emerging from the quantum distortions, but these were not normal ships. They were organic, living things that moved like predators. Hundreds of them, thousands, all heading straight for the human fleet. Admiral Sung-ho stared at the display. His face went from grief to recognition to horror. "No," he whispered. "Not them. Not here." The Devourers had found them. After 800 years, the Hunters had returned, and this time they had found not just humans, but an entire galaxy to consume. The Devourers came like a plague of locusts. Their ships were not built but grown organic vessels that pulsed with alien life. Each one was different, twisted into shapes that hurt to look at. They moved through space like sharks through water, fast and deadly. On the bridge of the Horizon's Promise, Admiral Sung-ho stood frozen for only a moment. Then years of military training took over. All ships, battle formation Delta. Protect the generation ship at all costs. Wake everyone from cryo-sleep. We are going to need every hand. Commander Kyung-mi watched from her flagship as the Devourers approached. Her tactical officer looked at her with wide, frightened eyes. "Commander, what are those things?" "I do not know, but prepare to engage." The Council fleet opened fire first. Hundreds of energy beams and missiles shot toward the Devourer ships. Direct hits. Explosions bloomed in the darkness. But when the light faded, the Devourer ships were still there. Their organic armor had absorbed the damage. Where there had been wounds, new tissue grew, sealing the holes within seconds. "Our weapons are not working," someone shouted on Kyung-mi's bridge. Then the Devourers returned fire. Green energy beams cut through space. A Council destroyer took a direct hit. Its shields failed. Its hull melted like butter. The ship broke apart, spilling crew into the void. Admiral Sung-ho watched the battle unfold. His expression was grim but determined. "Commander Hae-won, what are the Devourers doing?" Hae-won studied her displays. "They are adapting to Council weapons. Each time they are hit, their armor changes. They learn. They evolve." Admiral Sung-ho made a decision. He opened a direct channel to Commander Kyung-mi. "Commander, stop firing. You are just teaching them how to defend against your weapons." Kyung-mi hesitated, then gave the order. The Council fleet ceased fire. "What do we do now?" she asked. "Now we show them what human weapons can do." All human ships opened fire. The human fleet unleashed hell. But their weapons were different. Some fired projectiles that moved at incredible speeds, punching through Devourer armor before it could adapt. Others used quantum disruption fields that destabilized the organic tissue. Some weapons seemed to tear holes in reality itself. Devourer ships exploded. Others tried to flee but were cut down. The human fleet fought with precision and fury, but there were so many Devourers. For every ship destroyed, 2 more appeared. And they were learning from the human weapons too. On one of the human warships, Tactical Officer Sumin coordinated her ship's weapons with machine-like efficiency. She had trained her whole life for combat, though she never expected to fight this soon after waking from cryo-sleep. "Target the bigger ones," she called to her gunners. "Focus fire. Do not let them adapt to one weapon at a time. Hit them with everything at once." Her ship worked in coordination with a fighter squadron led by pilot Dong-Wu. The young pilot was skilled and fearless, weaving his small craft through the chaos. Dong-Wu led his squadron in close, targeting weak points on the Devourer ships that the big guns could not reach. It was dangerous work. 2 of his squadron died in the first 10 minutes, but the humans were not alone. Commander Kyung-mi watched the battle and made her own decision. All ships, she broadcast to the Council fleet. "We are going to support the humans. Whatever our differences, these creatures are the real enemy. Follow the human lead. Learn from their tactics." The Council fleet moved to support the human warships. They could not match human firepower, but they could provide covering fire and reinforcements. Slowly, the 2 fleets began working together. Jiwoo stood in the command center, feeling useless. He was a diplomat, not a warrior. But then Yuna found him. "We need you," she said. "Come with me." She led him to a conference room where human and alien scientists were gathering. Commander Hae-won was there, along with Dr. Jamin and several council researchers. "We need to find their weakness," Hae-won said without preamble. "Every species has one. We just need to figure out what it is." Jiwoo joined the group. Together, humans and aliens analyzed data, shared information, and worked on solutions. It was the first real cooperation between the 2 sides. Dr. Jamin studied the Devourer biology. Their adaptation is incredible, but not perfect. They need time to adjust. If we keep changing our tactics, keep surprising them, we can stay ahead. But we are running out of ships, a council scientist pointed out. Our casualties are mounting. Then we need to buy more time, Hae-won said. She turned to Jiwoo. Can you coordinate between our forces, help integrate our tactics? Jiwoo nodded. I will try. Meanwhile, Admiral Sung-ho and Commander Kyung-mi communicated constantly, sharing tactical data and coordinating their forces. Despite their earlier tensions, they found they worked well together. You are a good officer, Sung-ho told Kyung-mi during a brief lull in the fighting. Your fleet is well trained, as are your people, Kyung-mi replied. I have never seen such weapon technology. How did you develop it? Necessity. When you are fighting for survival, you innovate or you die. We chose to innovate. The battle raged for hours. Ships on both sides were destroyed. Thousands died. The Devourers kept coming wave after wave. They seemed endless. Then Dr. Jamin made a breakthrough. I found it, he shouted. The Devourers adapt to our weapons, but they cannot adapt to chaos. They are hive-minded. They work in patterns. If we attack with no pattern, completely random tactics they cannot predict or adjust. Human strategist Young Hee immediately understood. We need to attack in ways that make no logical sense. Use weapons in combinations that should not work. Move in patterns that contradict military doctrine. That goes against everything we are taught, a council officer protested. Exactly, Young Hee said with a grim smile. That is why it will work. The new tactics were transmitted to all ships. Suddenly, the combined fleet began fighting in ways that seemed insane. Ships would fire full broadsides, then immediately retreat. Fighters would charge, then scatter for no apparent reason. Weapons would target weak points, then strong points, then weak points again. And it worked. The Devourers began to falter. Their adaptation cycles fell behind. They were taking more damage, losing more ships, but then something changed. The Devourer fleet pulled back suddenly. They regrouped in a defensive formation. Why are they retreating? Kyung-mi wondered aloud. They are not retreating, Admiral Sung-ho said, his voice filled with dread. They are making way for something bigger. A massive shape emerged from the quantum distortion. It was a Devourer command ship, bigger than anything they had seen. It was the size of a moon, covered in weapons and armor that pulsed with dark energy. That is their mothership, the Admiral said quietly. I saw one once in the final days of Earth. We could not stop it. It consumed everything. The mothership began charging a weapon. Energy gathered at its center, a swirling vortex of destructive power. They are targeting the Horizon's Promise, Commander Haywan reported. If that hits, our generation ship and all 3 million people aboard will be destroyed. Admiral Sung Ho looked around his bridge. He saw his crew tired but determined. He thought of his daughter who had died just hours ago. He thought of all the humans who had trusted him to bring them to safety. He made his decision. All ships. This is Admiral Sung Ho. I am ordering the evacuation of the Horizon's Promise. All non-essential personnel transfer to warships immediately. Admiral, what are you planning? Commander Haywan asked, though she already knew. The Horizon's Promise has the most powerful reactor in the fleet. If we overload it and ram the mothership, the explosion should be enough to destroy it. That is suicide, Haywan said. No, it is a choice. Begin evacuation procedures. That is an order. Jiwoo heard the plan over the communication channel. Without thinking, he ran toward the bridge. Admiral, you cannot do this. There must be another way. There is not, the Admiral said calmly. But thank you, Jiwoo. Thank you for believing in us when no one else did. Take care of my people. Help them find a home. Commander Kyung-mi also heard the plan. She opened a private channel to Admiral Sung Ho. Admiral, I am moving my ship to support your attack. You do not have to do this alone. Commander, you have done enough. Save your people. With respect, Admiral, these are my people too. All of them. Human and otherwise. We fight together. Admiral Sung Ho felt emotion well up in his chest. For the first time in 800 years, humans were not alone. Then let us show them what unity can do. All ships cover the Horizon's Promise. We are going in. The massive generation ship began moving toward the Devourer mothership. The entire combined fleet moved with it, providing cover and support. They fought through waves of Devourer ships, taking losses but never stopping. On the Horizon's Promise bridge, Admiral Sung Ho stood alone. His crew had evacuated. Captain Daehyun had offered to stay, but the Admiral ordered him to leave. This was his burden to carry. As the generation ship accelerated toward its target, Admiral Sung Ho thought about Earth, about his daughter, about all the humans who had come before and all who would come after. We survived, he whispered. Against all odds, we survived, and we will continue to survive. The Horizon's Promise struck the mothership at full speed. For a moment, nothing happened. Then light bloomed brighter than a star. The explosion ripped through space, consuming the mothership and everything near it. When the light faded, the mothership was gone. The Devourer fleet, losing its central command, began to retreat. The days after the battle were strange. Ships floated in the darkness, damaged but not destroyed. Repair crews worked around the clock, fixing what could be fixed. Medical teams moved between vessels, treating the wounded. And everywhere, people grieved. Memorial services were held on every ship. Humans and aliens stood together, honoring the dead. Admiral Sung Ho's name was spoken with reverence. The stories of his sacrifice spread quickly through both fleets. On a council medical ship, a young human pilot named Shung Ho lay in a bed. He had nearly died during the battle. His fighter shot down while protecting a council cruiser. Council doctors had saved his life. Now he woke to find alien faces looking down at him with concern. "Welcome back," one of the doctors said. "You are a hero. You saved my ship and everyone aboard." Shung Ho smiled weakly. "Just doing my job." Meanwhile, Commander Woo Jin led salvage teams through the wreckage. The Marine commander had fought on the front lines, boarding damaged Devourer ships to save trapped crew members from both human and council vessels. Now he searched the debris field for survivors and for technology. "We found something," one of his team reported. "Pieces of the Devourer mothership. They might help us understand how to fight them if they come back." "Good. Secure it. We need to learn everything we can." Back at the galactic capital, the council gathered for an emergency session. The chamber was packed. Every representative wanted to speak. The debate was heated. "We owe the humans our lives," one representative argued. "They saved us all. We must offer them membership in the council, full rights and territories," but some still had concerns. Council member Bora, who had once wanted to seize human technology, now spoke with a different tone. "I was wrong about the humans. I admit this freely, but we must still be careful. They have lost their generation ship. They are now a purely military force. We need to help them transition to civilian life." Ambassador Taeyang stood to speak. His face was tired but determined. "The humans fought alongside us. They bled with us. They died for us. They have proven themselves. I propose we offer them not just membership, but also territories. 3 systems with habitable worlds, places where they can build homes. The vote was overwhelming. 3 systems would be given to humanity, full council membership would be granted, and a joint defense initiative would be created to protect against future devourer attacks. When the news reached the human fleet, there were tears. Yuna, who had become the unofficial spokesperson for the humans, addressed her people over the communication network. We have been given a gift, a chance to start over, to build new homes, to raise our children in peace. Admiral Sung Ho and all who died gave us this opportunity. We must honor them by building something beautiful. But not everyone was happy. Colonel Jun Seo, who had always been suspicious of aliens, gathered a group of like-minded humans. He argued that accepting council membership meant giving up independence. We should remain separate, build our own civilization, rely on no one but ourselves. But his voice was in the minority. Most humans had seen what cooperation could achieve. They had fought beside aliens. They had been saved by alien doctors. They had formed friendships. Commander Kyung-mi met with Yuna and several other human leaders to discuss integration plans. Jiwoo was there too, serving as a mediator. We want to help, Kyung-mi said. Our construction fleets can assist in building your colonies. Our engineers can work with yours, Yuna nodded gratefully. We accept, but we also want to contribute. Human technology saved many lives in the battle. We want to share it, not because we are forced to, but because it is the right thing to do. The collaboration began immediately. Human and alien engineers worked together, combining their knowledge. Dr. Jamin and his council counterparts established research stations to study the devourers and develop defenses. Commander Hae-won led the effort to design new ships that incorporated both human and council technology. The results were impressive. Ships that were faster, stronger, and more adaptable than anything either side had built before. 6 months after the battle, the first human colony was established. It was on a beautiful world with blue oceans and green forests. The humans named it New Earth, not to replace what was lost, but to honor it. Jiwoo attended the founding ceremony. He watched as humans planted the first crops and raised the first buildings. Children played in the grass. Adults laughed and cried and hugged each other. Yuna stood beside him watching the scene. Thank you, she said quietly. For believing in us, for helping us. Jiwoo shook his head. I did very little. You saved yourselves. You proved that the legends were not just stories, but promises. Promises of what humanity could be. Not just humanity, Yuna corrected gently. All of us, together. The integration was not always smooth. There were disagreements and cultural misunderstandings. Some humans like Colonel Jun Seo remained suspicious. Some aliens remained fearful. But slowly, bridges were built. Human pilots like Dongwoo began training council forces in advanced combat tactics. Council scientists shared their knowledge of galactic biology and chemistry with human researchers. Trade began. Friendships formed. Some humans even married aliens, starting families that bridged species. 1 year after the battle, a monument was unveiled on New Earth. It was a massive structure made of metal and stone reaching toward the sky. On it were carved the names of everyone who died fighting the devourers. Human and alien names, side by side. At the dedication ceremony, Commander Kyung-mi gave a speech. She had become a close friend to many humans, including Yuna. These names represent more than sacrifice. They represent a choice. The choice to stand together. The choice to see past our differences. The choice to fight not for our own survival, but for the survival of all. Jiwoo also spoke. He looked out at the crowd, seeing humans and dozens of alien species standing together. I spent years searching for proof that humans existed. I was called crazy. People laughed at me. But I never stopped believing. And I was right to believe, not just because humans were real, but because of what humanity represents. The refusal to give up. The determination to survive. The willingness to fight for a better tomorrow. He paused, emotion filling his voice. But I learned something else. Those qualities are not unique to humans. They exist in all of us. Every species here today has shown the same courage, the same determination, the same hope. We are stronger together than we ever could be apart. The crowd cheered. Humans and aliens together, celebrating not division but unity. In orbit above New Earth, the combined defense fleet patrolled. Human and council ships flew in formation, protecting the growing colonies below. They remained vigilant. The devourers might return someday, but if they did, they would find not scattered, fearful species, but a united force ready to defend their home. Captain Dae-Hyun commanded one of the patrol ships. He had been promoted after the battle, given a larger vessel with a mixed human and alien crew. He stood on his bridge looking at the faces around him. Different species, different backgrounds, but all working together seamlessly. This is what Admiral Sung-ho died for, he thought. Not for humanity alone, but for this, for unity, for hope. On New Earth, in a small garden, Yuna planted a tree. It was a sapling, grown from seeds saved from the horizon's promise, one of the last living connections to Earth itself. Jiwoo helped her, his hands covered in soil. Together they patted down the earth and watered the young tree. It will grow strong, Yuna said, just like we will. Years passed. The 3 human systems flourished. New cities rose from empty land. Human children grew up playing with alien children, learning multiple languages, exploring combined cultures. The memories of Earth faded, but the lessons remained. The joint defense force grew stronger. New technologies were developed. Warning systems were established throughout the galaxy, ready to detect any devourer incursion. The galaxy was prepared, but more importantly, the galaxy had changed. The old divisions and suspicions had not disappeared completely, but they had lessened. Species that had once barely tolerated each other now worked as partners. The council became stronger, more unified, and at the center of it all was humanity. No longer legends or myths, but real people. People who had lost everything but never lost hope. People who had been given a second chance and chose to use it to build something better. On the anniversary of the battle, 5 years later, Jiwoo stood before the monument again. He was older now, with gray in his hair, but his eyes were bright as he looked at the carved names. Yuna joined him, bringing her young daughter. The child was half human, half alien, a symbol of the new future they were building. "Tell me about the battle, Mama," the child asked. Yuna knelt beside her daughter. Once, humanity was thought to be just a legend. A story, but we were real, and when we came back, we found a galaxy that needed us. Not because we had the best weapons or the strongest ships, but because we had something more important. We had the courage to stand together with others, to fight not just for ourselves, but for everyone. The child looked up at the monument. Were they heroes? Yes, Jiwoo answered. The greatest heroes are not those who never fall, but those who get back up, who keep fighting for what is right, no matter how hard it is. The child thought about this, then smiled. I want to be a hero too. Yuna hugged her daughter.